Welcome back. It's been a long week, and I really appreciate everybody coming back to the fourth quarter community meeting. And this, as I have said many times before, this is something we always look forward to because we like to provide out the information that we've been working on back to you, and then hopefully get your input as well on things we can improve on. And I've mentioned it many times before, but a lot of the data products that we are using and that are very popular now, it's because of this group and that the things y'all told us y'all needed, like parcels and addresses and stuff, came out of this group. So we listen, and we do our best to make sure that we can get you what you want. Let me ask, who is here today for the community meeting but did not make it to the forum? Just a couple of y'all. Okay, great. Thank you, and thank you for coming as well. And who here has never been to a community meeting? Really? Wow, this is great. I mean, I'm always expecting 2 or 3 hands, but that's really good. So the community meeting is exactly that. This is not a thing where we're up here talking to you and having you guys just listen to a presentation. This is interactive. So like I say, we will be providing information, but you raise your hand at any point. We'll be happy to answer any questions, and we can kind of, move forward from that. So again, the interaction is what we're looking for. The bantering is fine. This is what we want. We want this to be very loose. So there's really not a lot of formality here. This is our 35th year at the Common Center, and I just, show of hands, I've had people say, hey, you guys are growing big, maybe you should move out. But we've been here for 35 years, and this place is great. I mean, how do y'all like the Common Center, right? Keep it here, right? Okay. I think I would rather cap it than try to move somewhere else and just continue to make it larger. But we did go into 3 sessions this year, which is something, that I think we've tried once before. And so we're really interested to understand the folks who were here, what y'all thought of the 3 sessions. We did try to time everything so you could leave the session and still make another session and keep the timing right. We are going to be asking for, your input on the forum and, do a little survey or something so we can get better information on what we can be doing for next time. So this is what we'll be doing today. I'm going to talk just briefly here. Do a little bit of house cleaning. I'm going to give you the Geographic Information Officer report, and we have something pretty special that we're going to do during that report, and then we're going to go ahead and do our Geographic Data and Technology Initiatives from TextGeo Group, and then the 11 to 12 is where we're really going to want to get your feedback on what you just heard and maybe what you've been thinking about as well. We don't have any planned breaks, so just come and go as you need to. I'm not sure. I'm hoping we can keep the coffee stocked. We will check on that as we're going through this because I know we were getting a little bit low. So feel free to go out and refresh that. Gayla, am I missing anything from opening remarks? Okay. Yep. Yep. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just start the GIO report. One thing I wanted to bring up, for those of you, I didn't introduce myself for those who might be new. My name is Richard Wade. I'm the Deputy Executive Administrator at the Water Board, and I oversee the Tex GIO division. I also serve as a State Geographic Information Officer, and I'm also now currently the past president of the National States Geographic Information Council. A new president just got elected and came in, and I serve now as the advisor to the president. That person, his name is Ken Nelson. He's from Kansas. And so the National States Geographic Information Council is a group of GIOs from all over the country that meet and talk about common problems. So you can kind of think of what we do here in Texas as a way to make sure that you guys get the data that you need and that we listen and that it gets disseminated and you can get to it. Imagine doing that now for 50 states who all have different initiatives, who all have different types of data, Yeah, it might be still, they may still have their own parcels, but it may be totally formatted differently than what our parcels are. The idea here is that we want to build a national geographic data infrastructure, right? So we want to build a pipeline by which you can go to one place and look at and grab any state's data, and when you receive it, it's the same across different states. And so how we do that is very, very challenging. We know that the technology's there. AI is going to really help on a lot of this stuff. But that's the kind of things that we talk about. We also talk about data, how everybody's doing data-wise. There is I'm going to just call it NISGIC from here on out, so I don't have to keep saying the long words. Within NISGIC, there is a kind of an entity within that looks at every single state and determines how well their data are aggregated, performed, accessible, and that kind of thing, and they grade it. They literally go through, they interview us, they interview the people, they go and actually look at your website and see and download data. And it's called the Geospatial Maturity Assessment. We call it the GMA. And we've been doing this about the past 4 years, and when we first started, Texas was in about it was just kind of coming up. They weren't quite sure how they were going to do it, so they were unofficial grades. But we were sitting in the C range, probably C minus-ish, somewhere in there. And we just didn't have everything pulled together. But I'm happy to announce, and I've announced this before, but this last assessment we were A minus. So what that tells us is that we're on the right path. And I like to say that the reason that I was asked to run for president is because of the amazing work we did in Texas, moving us up that chain to now be in the upper echelon, and people are now looking to us to say, how did you accomplish that? And so I'm really, really proud of that. And in the year that I was president, these are the accomplishments that we did. I inherited basically a organization I kind of felt like was confused. There were a lot of initiatives, and it depended on who you talked to, depending on what initiative was important. And we also financially were kind of all over the place. And so what I ended up doing as in my tenure, the things that really bothered me when I first joined NISGIC were those things. So the first thing we established was we have never had an annual report. We've been in existence for well over 35 years. And that organization has never had an annual report. Like, what is it we're doing? How are we financially? What have been our goals? And we created one. So the first one came out in March of 24 for the previous year of 23. So we're really, that was really happy. We're happy to get that out there, because if you're going to be an organization that people can take you seriously, you have to have these reports out there so people understand what you're doing. We've never had a strategic plan. For 24 years, we've never had a strategic plan. How do you get that many states together and not have a vision for where you're going? So I spent a full year with the board and other members of NISGIC, and we developed our first annual strategic plan that was approved back in September. So we're really, really pleased with that. It's a 3-year plan, and it's a moving plan. So in other words, any president that gets elected and comes in can now look at that plan and make adjustments to the plan based on whatever their visions are. They're not allowed to just wreck it and start completely over, because this has been adopted. But they can make adjustments to that plan. Within that plan too, we had an action plan that basically says the strategic plan is going to do these things. The action plan, this is how we're going to do those things and by when. That action plan is being assembled. It was put out there, but the new board and the new president are now implementing that action plan. We've restructured our advocacy efforts. We had advocacy, but nobody was in agreement to what advocacy should be doing. So we formalized a formal committee instead of a bunch of subgroups that they had that was trying to figure out advocacy. We put one formal committee and put some folks who have been highly engaged into NISGIC and its political abilities and what it thought we could do, and we put them at the heads of it. And now we have an advocacy committee that's kind of driving those driving those initiatives based on our strategic plan. So we're really happy about that. We've developed a new business partner model. So we have business partners. And the business partners are basically the folks in the private sector that allow us to get things done in the state, right? So the states have the ideas, and these are things we need to do. The business partners have the solutions. NSGIC is a combination of those two, but the way we were working together was not working very well. And so what we did is we took the old business partner model and we tossed it, and we developed a brand new one that was adopted last year. So we've had one full year to go with it, and now we're making the tweaks and adjustments that we need to make to make things work for them as well. But what's happening there is that's causing us to stop hemorrhaging money. You know, we're able now to bring in money correctly, and we're able to stabilize. And now I think we got some growth. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second. We've also implemented something called the National Geospatial Consortium, which we call the NGC. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, whereas NSGIC's a 501c6. So NSGIC can lobby, but we can't take on a whole lot of donations or grants. We can do some. There's some we are allowed to do, but we can't solicit certain things a certain way. There's legalities to it all. But 501c3s can take on donations and grants all they want to. So we created kind of a partner company that can go after those grants and then funnel them back to NSGIC, and then NSGIC can send them out to the states. And that's kind of our idea. And so this year we implemented that consortium, and we just got in September our IRS statement that says we are now an official 501c3. So now we can go after all those grants that we feel that are out there that are not being tapped. So we're happy about that. And then the last one, I mentioned we were kind of hemorrhaging money. For the last 6 years, we have not made a profit. And that's a huge problem. You can't sustain very long without that. Thank God we had some good investments that we kept borrowing from. But now we keep our investments in there. We've stabilized. We basically cut off the bleeding. We're now financially sound, and I think we will turn our first profit at the end of this coming year, end of 2025. So we're really, really pleased with that. So those were the accomplishments that we made in the past year. Ken Nelson, a great friend of mine, somebody I talk to pretty much on a daily basis, is going to pick the reins up, and he's going to take the things we've established and he's going to move those forward. And I think you're going to start hearing more about NSGIC as a viable national organization that's going to support the work we do. And we go to the Capitol, and we will be talking to our representatives, our congressmen, and our senators about things that are important to us that help grow our industry. So that is kind of what we do. And any questions on that? Any thoughts? So, glad I've explained that completely. Solid. But I mentioned too one thing that in the GIO, in this report, we're going to do something kind of special here. There's one thing that has always kind of come into my head that we don't do and we should do, which is acknowledge people when they're really, really important to our community, right? Too many people kind of float in, and luckily, most of our friends stay here, but every once in a while people kind of leave, and we didn't get a chance to say how important they were to the work they did and how important their work was to us. And so we had talked and decided that, we need to do better. We need to do better as a community acknowledging this. And so I think what we want to do, and we're going to start today, is we're going to start doing awards at this time every year. Just a couple, not a lot, but we want to make sure that we acknowledge the individuals who have made a difference to us in the community. We don't say it enough, and we just don't say it enough. We don't let people know what we think about them. And so we're going to change that. And so we were thinking about what is it that, what's the award we want to do? And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is somebody who's been innovative, somebody who's inspired us, somebody who's made a difference and has made, major commitments to making sure things get done. Somebody who's put up with us, somebody who's, I would say, motivated us. It's, they're out there, and it's all of y'all basically. I mean, but there's just some people who just rise above that. So we're trying to figure out what the name of that award would be, and we're calling it the Luminary Award. So if you look it up, that's what it means. It means, leadership, inspiring, motivating. So we're going to start having an annual Luminary Award that we want to hand out to special individuals who've made an impact to the community. And we're going to start that today. And so our first Luminary Award ever is going to go to Claire Devon. Claire, where are you? She's right there. So when Claire announced her retirement, I think that's the first thing that kind of rolled around in our heads is, what are we doing for her? What are we going to do for her? And of course, you kind of get tied up in your daily lives, and you don't necessarily have let's take her to lunch. I mean, yeah, you could do stuff like that, but we wanted to do more. She's just contributed to the community. Claire, working for the USGS for as long as that she has, and has just been so instrumental, so even-keeled through the whole process. I don't think I've ever seen you upset. And I'm sure you do, but I've never seen it, and some of it should have probably been directed to me. But she's put up with me. She's asked for things from me, and I haven't been as quick to get things to her. But she's just been solid. She's helped us with our grants. She's helped us with our geographic names. And it's just been solid to be that person. When we don't have it together, she comes in and she has it together. Claire and I we go back a really long way, but one of the memories I have, I think, of Claire is when we were putting together the Cogna, or she was putting together Cogna in Texas. And we were looking for what we could do. And Claire said, you know what, let's take a bus trip around historical sites around Texas. And so Claire plans it all out and gets it kind of figured out. And then she takes her motorcycle and she rides the routes and visits all the places to make sure kind of how it would all work. And then, and what year was that, Claire? That was 2014. And it was so fun. So we joined her on the bus tour. We had a full loaded bus. We brought family and others, and we went through this historical all-day tour with the Cogna members, and it was just an absolute blast. And Cogna stands for? Council of Geographic Names Authorities. There you go. I was going to look it up, but I didn't. So I know it's Cogna, and I know what they do, but I didn't know what the acronym was. But anyway, Claire, you've done just an amazing job. I can't speak highly enough of what you've done. You've just been such a mentor to me personally, just to watch how you work, to watch your ethics, to watch what you've done for us and for the community, for us to get these grants, for us to move the geographic names forward, for everything related to 3-depth, 3D-HP, to everything that we never knew that you knew about and you could kind of deliver to us. It's been absolutely amazing. So with that, Claire, I'd like to see if you could join me on stage. And I don't even know if I want to take this out because it's so pretty, and I'm going to put fingerprints all over it. But maybe we can hold it up. Join me in the center. So, Claire Devon, I would like to officially provide you this Texas GIS Community Luminary Award for 2024 for outstanding leadership and contribution to GIS. So, Claire. Would you like to say something? Oh, you don't? No. Okay, it's okay. But yeah, I mean, she's been amazing, and Claire, thank you for everything you've done. And you hope you won't be a stranger to these things. Okay. It's okay. And Claire, I got the rest of your box up here, but I'll bring it back to you here just a second, so it doesn't fall out. So let's take some time to make sure that we tell each other we appreciate them, because bottom line is they go away and then you kind of forgot what they've done, and we don't want to lose sight of that. So what we're going to be working on in the next year is maybe forming a little tiny committee that helps us identify these individuals in our community so that we can acknowledge them appropriately at a setting like this. So we'll be doing that more often. So all right. With that, I think, oh, yes, I have one more thing that I wanted to announce. So our digital map gallery winner is Mitchell Damrow from Flood Map, created this beautiful map in August of 2024. And so first of all, Mitchell, are you here? Okay. Oh, there you go. All right, Mitchell. So Mitchell gets bragging rights for sure for a full year. And, what we want to do is we want to, kind of put this map. I think, where's Laura? Laura, are we going to put this on the website, or could we do something like that? We'll put this out on our website. We will advertise it as part of, from our forum notes and that kind of thing. But Mitchell, thank you for contributing to this. This is a beautiful map and well-deserved. So thank you so much. All right. With that, I think I'm going to turn things over to Joey Thomas for the Strategic Mapping Program updates.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I am Joey Thomas. I am the manager of the Strategic Mapping Program at Texas Geographic Information Office. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of the Strategic Mapping Program and what we do, and touch on some of the success of the GIS hardware, software, and services contracts that we help set up at DIR. So if you're familiar with StratMap, you know that we have a series of kind of core data sets that we try to focus on, being orthoimagery, elevation imagery, or elevation, hydrography, land parcels, address points, and one of the newer ones we've been working on is land cover. And so, of course, we're always interested if there are any other data sets that you need to identify to us as being, something we should be actively pursuing every single year with our funding that we receive. So if you do have any input on that, we're always very eager to listen to the community and try to help get that data set for everyone in Texas. So what is the Strategic Mapping Program? So we are in statute, and so our goal is to acquire new data for the state. We also try to maintain and update and improve current data sets for the state of Texas, and then we, of course, also derive new geospatial data sets from our existing data sets. Another big effort that we do is try to define common mapping standards like schemas for our parcels, LiDAR specifications, orthoimagery specifications, and these are always things that we are very happy to give out to anybody who would like to use them for their own acquisitions. If you ever need assistance with some specifications or anything like that, please let us know. We're always happy to lend a hand. And another major thing that we do is attract partnerships. So for many years, the StratMap program did not have any funding, and a big push of what we did was to bring the community together in these data acquisition cost shares. And so now that we do have some funding, it's always nice to continue those efforts for the state and coordinate entities so that we can really push the dollars, the limited amount of dollars we have, the furthest amount for the state of Texas, and get newer and better data set for the state. So some of the updates, what's new with this StratMap program. So we have been able to get additional funding this last year. We were able to get about $5 million more dollars for the StratMap program that we're planning to spend this upcoming FY25. We are seeking additional funding in the coming biennium, and so we're hoping that that will pan out, and then we'll have additional funding to keep acquiring these great data sets for Texas. We've, of course, continually been increasing our partnerships across the state, and we actually pretty soon will have a new bathymetry and hydrography position that will help us manage the acquisition of those two data sets for the state of Texas and increase data layers. So as I mentioned, the new bathy and hydrography position. So two of the new data sets that we've really been pushing are coastal bathymetry for the state of Texas, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then also we're hoping to get into 3D HP, the 3D hydrography program with the USGS. We currently have applied for a grant for that program, and we're hoping that we can take that initial project and then continue those efforts in the coming years across the state as we acquire new LiDAR data. Some of our program goals, of course, are data maintenance, continuing our efforts for parcel and address points, creating new partnership opportunities, developing new data sets and derivative data sets. We hope to have a project page next time we get our website redesigned in the next couple of years or so. We hope to have a StratMap projects page where people can come and see what new data sets are being developed for the state. Then also some feedback opportunities so we can better understand the community and the GIS needs for everybody in Texas. So to give you an idea of who we're kind of currently working with, so over the years we've partnered with over 80 agencies and cost shares for data acquisition. We currently have 42 participating agencies in the Texas Imagery Service, and then we've also had over 285 agencies contribute data to the StratMap program and to the Data Hub where we distribute our data. So another big initiative that we put out is what we have dubbed the StratMap Contracts. These are the GIS services, software, and hardware cooperative contracts that are held by the Department of Information Resources. And these make data acquisition absolutely way easier than trying to generate your own contracts at your own agencies. So you can think of these as kind of a shortcut for GIS services, software, and hardware that, when I was managing the LiDAR acquisition projects, I don't think I would have been able to do it without these contracts. So they are a huge benefit for use for data acquisition. And what they really allow us to do is pool resources from various agencies. You don't have to funnel funds from other state agencies or local entities. Everybody just issues a purchase order to the awarded vendor. It helps lower the cost through the cost share initiatives. We can always ensure higher quality service through predefined vendors that have already kind of passed the test for the state. And a big one is save time. So you don't have to get your legal involved. You don't have to generate your own contract. It's really just issuing a statement of work, receiving bids back, selecting a vendor, and then you can issue a purchase order to them. And there are some limitations for state agencies, but local entities can utilize these contracts to the fullest. And if there's a vendor that's in the vendor pool that you're working with, you can and you like working with them, you can just continue to send them purchase orders and ping the DIR contract, and it'll save you a ton of time. So we are currently in the third generation of these contracts. The initial generation was what we call the high priority imagery and data sets, and I believe that was held by the Council of Competitive Governments many years ago, part of the CPA. And then we transitioned to the DIR contracts in 2016 through 2020, and now we're in the 2021 through 2026 phase. And then the fourth generation will be coming in the near future, and the information on that will start to trickle out in November, and then by mid-March of next year, those opportunities should come up. So to give you an idea of who our vendors are, as you can see, there's a wide array of very large geospatial companies, and I would invite you to, if you're familiar with working with any of these companies, please ask them about their DIR contract, and please utilize these contracts. They're here for everybody in the community to use. let's see, as you can see, we have software vendors. Additional software entities are always something we're interested in adding to the contract this next cycle. But any of these vendors will do great work for you. So feel free to check them out, and you can of course see their what services and such they offer on their DIR contract pages. If you go to their pricing index, you can see a list of the services that they have to offer. So how have the contracts been doing? Really well. So as I said, I believe this is the 4th year of the contract. Last fiscal year, they did almost $28 million in sales. And it was a pretty even split between the services, hardware, and software, which is great. It's good to see that, there's quite a bit of investment going on into services and hardware and not just software that people are buying. So it's great. The state government was the biggest purchaser of products through these contracts, but local government was very close behind. And then as far as who uses these contracts, the local governments, as you can see, 591 separate local government entities utilized this contract last fiscal year. So we're very excited to see that, as well as out-of-state entities. Just to let you know, if you are vendors on this contract or you're interested in getting on this contract, entities in other states can use this as long as it's just state or below. Federal government and private sector are the only ones who can't utilize these contracts. But as we've seen, there's been some additional states throughout the US that have been utilizing this contract because they see the benefit of it. And it has a very low administrative fee that helps out too. So how did the last year compare to previous years? So as you can see, there's been kind of consistent growth in utilizing this contract. The first year we had 112 unique purchasers, and then this last year we had 659. So usage of contracts is continuing to grow, and then the total amount that's been spent through the contract over the last 4 years is over $50 million. And those each year continue to grow as well as we've seen, which is, I was very surprised by the hardware that's been going through the contract. It's just great to see that there's more surveying and other geospatial hardware that people are going out and getting through this contract. So we're excited about that. And we hope that, we'd of course love to see these trends continue. And these contracts do well because that means people are getting good services and creating good data for the state of Texas. So to give you an idea of who's using the contract, so these are the purchasers by their zip code. And so as you can see, there are some various areas across the state. It looks like we had some in Wisconsin. I believe there was a heavy user in Virginia, some Arkansas users, and then also in California. So, and it's, as you can see, most of the usage in Texas does revolve around the metro areas, but we're also seeing some further expansion in some of the rural areas as well, so that's always great to see. And I believe, so here's an update about the DIR contract. So to give you an idea of what the timeline is going to be, so they are interested in doing a request for information from current and interested vendors on what new offerings that they may have since the last contract opened, what new services, what new types of software, new hardware that might be utilized by people using this contract. They're interested in understanding what those are so that they can include them as part of the RFO when they open it up to vendors. There should be a pre-solicitation notice issued by DIR in December of this year. And then they've told us that they expect the RFO that the vendors can reply to be opened in mid-March of 2025. So this is, of course, open to any GIS vendors that would like to secure a contract with the state of Texas. All existing vendors will need to reapply to this RFO if they want to continue to have a contract. And as a reminder, this will be the only chance to get on this contract for the next 4 to 5 years. So if you are interested in participating in this, if you would like to offer these services to the people of Texas, this is the time to do it. If you don't get on the contract, then the only other way to get on the contract would be to become a subcontractor to one of the prime vendors. So this is your chance to be a prime vendor on the DIR contracts, and as you can see, they've been very successful. So we're really hoping to expand the vendor list this next cycle and offer the most value to the people of Texas. So. And of course, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. I'm always happy to share any information about this we can and help prepare you to get on these contracts. And so some of the things we're wanting to know specifically about the DIR contracts are, do we have anybody who uses contracts here? Oh, just a few? Oh, man. So one of the things we want to know is, are these contracts helping you? Are they helping make your job easier when you use these contracts? I'm seeing lots of agreement, so that's always good to see. And then, we're also very interested in understanding, are there vendors that you want on this contract? And if there are, we'd like to know so we can reach out to them and try to encourage them to be part of these contracts so that you can utilize those vendors for your GIS services or software. And then, of course, are there new technology or resources that we should know about, that we should pursue and try to get incorporated into these contracts? And so if you have any input on that, let me know. If you have any other questions about it, please let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Would anyone like to comment or question now?
Yeah.
That terrifies me. So I'm curious to know, when you are breaking out your different users of the contracts, you had local governments in there and then you had state governments. I'm wondering, councils of government, those regional entities, where are they classified? Or do you know offhand?
So these are DIR classifications, and so COGS and regional governments, those would fall into the local government category. There are some river authorities that DIR considers to be a state agency, but for the most part, the state government ones are kind of the ones that have like regulation authority and that sort of thing.
Miguel, can you get that demo?
Testing. So as a vendor on the DIR contracts, and we have been for quite some time, we have customers in all 50 states, I would say, for the most part, and they're always looking for ways to procure, right? And we have other purchasing contracts and arrangements, but I communicate with the DIR folks quite often, and are they looking to bring in other state agencies? I mean, you showed a few of them on the map. So is it something I can encourage them to look into?
Yeah, you can always encourage other states to utilize these contracts.
Okay.
As I said, there is an administrative fee for DIR, but it is very small. It is 0.075%. So like on $1 million contract, that's $7,500. So it's very minuscule compared to some of the other contracts, like the Gypsy contract, for instance, that's like 6-7%. So they do have quite a good value, and they are attractive to other states. And I believe the only thing that DIR requires is for those entities to sign like a one-page agreement that they'll abide by the DIR, like prompt payment of vendors and that sort of those rules that basically govern the contracts themselves. So it should be a pretty easy end for those entities if they want to use the contracts. So yeah, you shouldn't feel discouraged from inviting other state entities to participate in use of the contract.
Yeah, I've noticed that, the TOLA states, right? It's been easier. They've been more forthcoming. I've connected them with DIR. I just didn't know if it went beyond. And looking at your map, there are a couple of dots up there in the north. But yeah, if you're saying that, we'd love to point folks that way. And my second question is, as a participant, we're bringing on new products. You said, there's the open enrollment, right, that's coming up. The RFI is going out. within that period, once we're on the contract, can we add new SKUs when we bring new products online during that time frame?
Yes, so it's a little gray, but if you start offering a new technology or a new product, then you can add it to your pricing index on the DIR contracts. What I would encourage you to do is to try and list any and everything that you want to sell through the contracts up front. And then if you get new capabilities or new resources or something like that and can start offering those new products, then at that point you would want to contact DIR and let them know you want to add some items to your pricing index and that sort of thing.
Okay, so you said you can, not can't. Like, for example...
You can, but it's more so like it has to be a new thing for your company.
Right.
It can't be something you forgot to add.
Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, they're new products in some cases, and we're also acquiring companies. So for example, we've acquired 2 companies. We're like, okay, well, we would like those. Actually, we were one of the companies that was acquired, and we moved to the Sanborn contract. Do you know if that would be considered new? Good question.
It would depend on what the product is.
Okay.
And so it's more so related to newer technologies and newer types of data. If it's something that other people already have on their contracts, it would be dependent on DIR to approve it. For something like a new acquisition of a company, like a new resource that was added to the company, then I believe that they'd be more open to that. But it's just going to depend on kind of what it is. And I would also say, it's okay to have some broad categories on your pricing index. Like if instead of doing like planimetrics, or you can just say derivative geospatial data sets or something along those lines for some of that. So it's just going to depend on how kind of DIR views your case and whether or not you're allowed to add those resources to that contract.
Thank you.
Okay, just for some context too, so I'm with the City of Austin, I've done a lot of data purchases. What these contracts offer you is you don't have to go out for a full solicitation. So it saves us hundreds of hours and resources and time and energy, because that process can be really laborious. So contextually,
Yeah.
so yeah.
If you're local, you are not bound by the DIR rules, so you can do direct awards and that sort of thing, as long as it goes along with your own purchasing regulations. For state agencies, you will have to abide by certain rules for pricing thresholds. So depending on the pricing threshold, you'll have to, if it's over 50,000 but less than 100,000, it's like you have to ask 3 vendors for bid. If it's over 500,000, I believe you have to ask at least 6 vendors for bid. Any of our projects, if you offer any of the TextGeo projects that we do, if you offer a service, we'll send you a bid notification, because we want the to be the most competitive that it can be for the state. So, any other questions?
I just wanted to comment real quick that the other major strength that we put these together in place for however many years ago, back in 2009, was for cost share capability. So we have to cost share, we have to work with our other agencies to get the data that the rest of the StratMap team is going to tell you about. So if you are a city or a county and you want to go in on a project with a neighboring county or a neighboring city, these make this a really efficient approach, because you can go in as one project and just simply issue purchase orders directly from your own entities directly to your selected data provider. So just wanted to drive that home a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have to funnel funds, which is the best part. So, all right. Well, if there are no other questions, I will go ahead and turn it over to Lauren Kirk to give you some updates on the Texas Imagery Service and Ortho Imagery projects.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren Kirk. I'm the imagery specialist at TextGIO, with a couple of updates on our imagery service, ortho imagery products, and also our upcoming land cover initiatives. So this way. Sorry, haven't had coffee. So a little bit about our TextGIO Texas Imagery Service. It is a paid subscription-based imagery program for the entire state of Texas. We offer 6-inch resolution natural color ortho imagery with collections going back all the way to 2011. This program is available to all Texas government entities in the state and contractors doing work on their behalf. And I also want to highlight that we consider public universities as Texas government entities as well. So we do have a couple of departments from state universities who are current participants who are utilizing the imagery service. So joining is free or easy and can happen at any time. And depending on when you join, your rate will be prorated. We do have a kind of sliding scale pricing system that is going to be relative to the size of your entity. So we do have pricing for state agencies all the way down to smaller local governments, cities and et cetera like that. So we do update the imagery service about every other year, and we do try to prioritize capturing leaf off. Sometimes it just varies depending on the season and the conditions. And all of that imagery is available to you all through WMS and WMTS service links that you can pop into your geospatial software of choice. So next slide. This is our current status map of our upcoming statewide 2024-2025 statewide acquisition. So we are nearly there, which is awesome. And we do expect that data, once processed, to probably hit the imagery service in, I'd say, summer-ish time frame, but more detail will come out about that when we have that information. So that is also in conjunction with the upcoming USDA NAEP 2024 flight that's happening at the same time. And we will expect that data probably next fall. And those two collections will be joining, like I said, our list of other layers that go back to about 2011. So our latest previous statewide that just entered the service was from 2022 and 2023. And then we did a small urban area collect for 2024 that captured San Antonio up to the greater DFW area. So very exciting. It's a good time to join. There's a lot of new stuff coming into the service shortly. And then a really cool, exciting development is our Texas Imagery Service Plus program, which if you've stopped by the Sanborn booth, which hopefully you have, you will have heard about the Texas Imagery Service Plus. So the Imagery Service Plus, TIS Plus, is an optional service enhancement for current imagery service participants. And what that does is it allows current imagery service participants to leverage the DIR pricing with our content provider Sanborn to get additional offerings that go above the basic scope of the imagery service. So like I said, we do collect about every other year. 6-inch resolution natural color, but if your organization really wants to get that CIR band or have a custom flight with a custom spec that falls outside of our standard, this is a really great opportunity to pursue that. There is a pricing table that we've developed and come out with, and if you're interested in that, let me know and I can get that to you. But all of these additional custom services are also offered at a discount for current imagery service participants. So really good cost-saving opportunities and a way to leverage this really awesome program. So that is it with the Texas Imagery Service Plus. And I also want to highlight that if you are not a current Texas Imagery Service participant and you would like to take it for a 2-week trial spin, you can get some trial links if you go to our Texas Imagery Service project page on our main website. Just click that little blue button. You fill out a little form, I'll issue you some links, and see if it works for you and your organization. And then pivoting, I also want to take a minute to highlight all of our non-Texas Imagery Service ortho imagery collections that are on our TextGIO data hub that are free and available to anyone and everyone. Most of these collections also have WMS service links, so you don't have to download tiles of data if you don't want to. We have over 90 collections of ortho imagery on our data hub, so please check that out. We did recently add the NAEP 2022 collection over the summer. And I do also want to highlight that if you have a local or regional ortho imagery collection that maybe you're interested in us putting on our data hub, please reach out to me and we can talk more specifics and get that posted online, and then you can point your customer traffic towards our data hub. Okay, pivoting over to land cover. If you've been coming to these community meetings for the last year and a half, you've been hearing me harp on this for a long time. But we're really, really excited to announce that in mid to late summer, we released our pilot land cover data set, which is a 1 meter high resolution land cover data set for the 11 county greater Houston Galveston area. This was a pilot in conjunction with NOAA and their content provider Ecopia. And it was developed in 2 phases. The first, which comprises of NOAA's basic 3 classifications, impervious, water, and canopy. That covered a bigger 58 county subset of Texas. And you can download that for free on the NOAA's Digital Coast website. And then included in phase 2 was an additional 22 classes added to those initial 3 of the Houston-Galveston area, and those are also available on NOAA's data download page and also from our TextGIO data hub. It's available as a raster and vector formats. Please go to this URL if you want to learn more about NOAA's CCAP program. And what do I have on my next slide? This is just another example of the change in resolution. This 30 meter kind of was NOAA's standard for a long time, but they are pivoting to a 1 meter resolution, which, I mean, I think this kind of speaks for itself in how much cleaner the data looks, and it's going to be a really amazing data set to use for coastal resiliency, urban planning, environmental mitigation and hazards, flood modeling. So the use cases are just, there's a bunch. And we at TextGIO are really, really interested in expanding this land cover data set beyond that initial 11 county area. I mean, ideally we would like to go statewide, and we have allotted a little bit of a budget for this project in particular. But like Joey said, we are looking for participants to partner with us and maybe contribute a little bit of funding to expand that. So we can ideally get that statewide collect in one fell swoop. So this is just said what I just said. So this is kind of our 3 general options of land cover classifications. I'm not sure if we will go after the CCAP 25 land cover classes in this collect that we're planning, but that's all going to be dependent on funding and partnerships. So if you are interested at all, even a little bit, please email me. Let me know. I want to work with you. I think that, yeah, that wraps up my updates for imagery and land cover. Are there any questions before I hand it off? If not, you can always flag me down afterwards. No? Cool.
Yeah, right.
The link to the access to the land cover data, y'all don't have it on TNRIS's website, it's just, yeah, TNRIS. We're here for the TNRIS quarterly meeting, so, yeah, so, yeah, is that link anywhere on TNRIS's website, or is it just up on NOAA's website?
This link?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on our website as well.
It is, okay.
Yeah, if you go to the 2020 land cover project pay or data hub card, that is there in the metadata.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
It should be one of the first ones that comes up.
Yep.
It's one of our most recent release data sets.
Okay, I'll look for it then. I was looking for it under land cover and I wasn't seeing it, so that's why I was asking.
Any other questions? Yep.
Thanks, Lauren. Is there going to be an effort to go back to more historic imagery and do some of this land cover analysis on like some of the 2011 imagery or something like that?
That's a good question. Currently, there's not. I think we are going to just be, at the moment, focusing right now on getting a baseline for the whole state with this high-resolution land cover with our most recent imagery. That's not to say that at some point in the future that may not be a possibility, but it's not going to happen immediately. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what type of application that you would be interested in that for.
Oh, just,
Historic land cover.
yeah, I'm just thinking like, change detection, development over time sort of thing, kind of anticipating future development sort of stuff. So, I don't know, just a thought. Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
I also completely blanked and forgot to mention that this high-resolution land cover data was derived using imagery from our Texas Imagery service. So, all local in-house. Yes.
Yes, when you get new imagery and you push it out, does the old imagery get just replaced, or do you leave it in a historical category?
We keep it all. Yeah, so whether you're using the Texas Imagery Service and there's a new layer that comes in, you have access to all of the older layers, and even with our ortho imagery on our data hub, it's all there. We don't get rid of any of our historic imagery. It all just becomes an additional layer.
Hi, I'm Seth from Central Texas Council of Governments. I did a lot of projects in college and in between employment doing habitat suitability analysis with land cover data in particular. And I think that this 1 meter resolution stuff is going to be much more impressive and much more accurate than what we had before. So, yeah, it looks really great.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about it, and we want to get it out there to y'all as much as possible. So thank you. Appreciate it. Any last minute questions before I hand it off for LiDAR? Okay, thank you.
All right, hey everybody, I'm Ellen. It's been such a fun week. I feel like this is, I think, my 4th time at this conference and 2nd time working for TextGIO, and I feel like each year I get to know more and more of you and meet new people and get to talk about LiDAR. So my name's Ellen St. Romain. I'm the elevation specialist with TextGIO, and in Texas, we've been collecting LiDAR since 2001. Over the last 20 plus years, we now have over 100%, or we are at 100% coverage of LiDAR for the state. So no matter where you live in Texas, you can access LiDAR, do whatever kind of analysis you're looking for, which is really exciting. So I worked with a colleague of mine, Azia, to make some updates to the website. So some of you might recognize the status map here from our website, the elevation page. It used to have overlapping polygons for every project we have ever, housed on the data hub, and it was just a little bit difficult to interact with if you were looking at the current projects. So we gave that a little update. Now when you visit our site, you can see the areas of Texas where there is new LiDAR being collected, where there will be new data available to you soon. And you can click and interact with it and understand the resolution of the data, et cetera, et cetera. So that is an exciting update. We also have 2 indexes available for you to download on the website. One is that historical footprint or overlapping polygon data set, so you can see how the data interacts with each other, where there are multiple collections available. So that's available kind of in the body of that paragraph above the map. And then to the right of the map, there's another download of an index of our best available LiDAR by 64th quad. So just wanted to shout out to that. I think they're useful resources for y'all. So that best available LiDAR date will range from 2016 through 2024. You can see there's a lot of red on this map. The USGS updated their refresh rate from every 8 years to every 5 years. So that's an exciting change, but we do have a lot of work to do, a lot of LiDAR to collect, which is great for me and for y'all. So the sources of the different collections that we house on the data hub vary from state, local, and federal, and then the classification schemes vary. So about half the state, later on there's another map that'll show the exact areas, but about half the state contains only that USGS base specification, and the other half has collections that contain 5 additional classifications, so 11 total LiDAR classifications. So yes, this is the map that I showed last year. So we flew these dark green areas in the winter of 2024. For the upcoming winter, the USGS is flying quite a few areas in that lighter kind of blue color that you see. And then we are out for bid on a project right now that will be the largest LiDAR collection that we have done to date, which is really exciting. And we're hoping to collect that entire area. So yeah, the upcoming LiDAR projects for the winter will
refresh areas last flown since 2016 and on. And yeah, we're partnering with TCEQ on the upcoming StratMap collection, so it'll be a good one. So this is kind of the coverage of the classification availability. So closer to the coast, you see that we have our StratMap classifications available, and then everything in tan is the USGS base specification. Historically, we have done classification projects where we go in and we reclassify the USGS collections that only have those base specifications. That is kind of on hold right now. We are waiting to see where the USGS might fly larger areas coming up in the next few years. We don't want to spend funds to reclassify an old collection for the USGS to go then fly that exact area and have a new data set with less classifications. So that's on hold for now, but if you're ever interested in partnering with us in the future on that, we'll keep you updated on those projects. Lastly, as Joey mentioned earlier, we do have a new bathymetry and hydrography person starting soon, so this will be the last update I give on Bathy. But the 3 collections we did in 2023 are on the Data Hub, available for you for free. Everything on the Data Hub is free, so please go check those out if you haven't. We have a list of 20 priority areas that were developed in 2022, and so far we've collected 5 of those areas. So we're 20% of the way there, and yes, with this new position and some additional funding, we're hoping to collect 2 to 3 of those areas a year moving forward. So really getting going on that and excited for that. And I believe that is it for me, but does anybody have any questions on anything for me? Miguel.
What is the reference rate on the bathymetry? Same 5 years?
On the bathymetry, the
Yeah.
refresh? That's a really good question. I'm not sure. Joey? No, is what Joey says. Joey said no. Anything else? Back there?
It's a real dumb question.
I doubt that. No dumb questions.
You haven't heard me yet. USGS classifications, number 7 was noise. What does that mean?
Not a dumb question at all. So noise it's kind of like a naturally occurring thing with the sensors. So there's going to be sort of like particles in the air and just random errors, basically, that they remove to clean it up. Yeah. All social media. Any other questions for me? Joey?
She has cards too.
Yeah, I just want to add for our upcoming LiDAR acquisition methodology as we've entered this new 5-year cycle.
Okay.
So as you can see by the shape of the new areas that we're pursuing, we are going after HUC 6 boundaries in the future. So we are moving away from that political boundary as our LiDAR boundary, and we'll only be pursuing HUC 6 based acquisitions in the future.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. I actually looked at, there are 45 HUC 6s that overlap with Texas, and only about 40 of those have significant overlap. And with the upcoming winter collects, in that 5-year frame, we will have 7 complete HUCs that people can do analysis with. So it's like almost 20% of the state will be within that range with a complete HUC available to you. So. Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Joey. Anything else? Okay, yeah, one last thing about partners. I feel like one of the things that's great about partnering with us is you're able to access these additional sort of products, right? So the Hayes and Williamson County project we just wrapped up, partners were able to get a DSM and 1-foot contours with them. I talked to you about that yesterday. Yeah. You have a question? Yeah.
So, if I wanted to explain to my director how we could get in on, like what we discussed about maybe getting like 12 point per meter LiDAR over San Marcos campus, how would I explain that, or how would I approach that? Would I just reach out to you, or what?
Yeah, definitely. We exchanged business cards. I have your business card. I'll reach out to you with some details on that if you want to be able to forward that on to him. But
Okay.
it would be working with us through the DIR contracts that
Okay,
Joey
yeah, that's what I was
mentioned.
gonna say. So it would be, basically, we would be getting in on one of those contracts. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so whether or not it's on a project that we are actively managing, or if y'all want to be able to kind of do it on your own and use the contract, it's flexible.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. It is leaf off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just to reiterate, if anybody didn't hear him, he asked if it was leaf on or leaf off. And our spec is always leaf off.
Okay, well, again, I'm Ellen St. Romain, so if you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. And yeah, I'm going to hand it off to Clayton to give you an update on parcels and address points.
At the end of the StratMap section, there is a slide that has all of our StratMap staff contact information on it. So we'll pause on that when we get to that, but just want to let you know that's coming up if y'all want to write those down or screenshot them or get in touch with us. We also have a contact form on our main page at geographic.texas.gov if anyone ever wants to reach us that way too.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Clayton. I've been managing our land parcel and address point data sets for the past year and a half. I just want to give a quick, brief history of those data sets for anybody that's new here, or all the people that are new here. In 2017, these data sets were identified in the GIO report as being high priority because this would require multiple data contributors. TextGIO needed to develop a standardized schema to be used for these two data sets. And so we met with other collaborators to create and adopt a standardized statewide schema. And formal acquisition for these data sets began in 2019. Was the first one, or were the first publications were in 2019. And the goal was to update those annually. So on the Data Hub, we have releases for 2019, 2021, 22, 23, and 24 so far. If you're interested in what the schemas have or the attributions are for those data sets, you can go onto our website to look at those. I've met with a couple individuals throughout the forum this week who were interested in possibly updating the address point schema to include some additional attribution. So that's definitely something I'm going to look into and maybe bring up at the next community meeting to see if it would be of interest for other people as well. So this is a figure of the land parcels over time since the first publication in 2019. The program always started out pretty strong and was pretty consistent. 2021 had about 195 counties, which was the lowest year. But I'm happy to say that 2024 has been the most comprehensive data set we've been able to publish with 253 counties. So just an overview of that 2024 data set. We partnered with BIS to collect those land parcels. The data set, as I mentioned, has 253 counties, with Donley County the only one without data. They just simply don't have their data in AGIS. The data set contains 13.8 million land parcels, and those are all available on the Data Hub and as a web map service if you're interested in that. Yeah. Yes, sorry. No, I apologize. And then again, here's a figure, but for our address points over time. These have always been relatively consistent. Again, though, 2024 is our most comprehensive data set with 252 counties. A challenge with address points is sometimes a county can have multiple data sources. It's not quite as cut and dry as land parcels where one entity controls all the land parcels for the county. So a big goal for address points is always improving the coverage for each county. So that was one of our main goals for this year. This is an overview of that data set. Like I mentioned, we had 252 counties. I wasn't able to get any data for Howard County or Henderson County. The source for Henderson County is really hard to track down, so if anybody knows where to get that data, I'd love to know. Howard County, they recently found the data on a flash drive that's pretty old, so they're working on updating it, but they have just one lady that's kind of in charge of a lot throughout that county. So hopefully next year we'll have some data for that county. As I mentioned, this data set contains 11.3 million records, and one of the biggest goals was to increase coverage, which I have a couple slides on coming up that'll show how we did that. I recently submitted this data to the National Address Database. That's something we've also been doing annually for the past, I think since 2019, we've been submitting those to the National Address Database. So they typically provide reports about the accuracy of those address points and whatnot, and I'm waiting to get the 2023 one, so hopefully by next community meeting I can provide some results on that statewide data set. Again, those are available on the Data Hub, and those also have a web map service if you're interested in that. So as I mentioned, increasing coverage was one of our big goals for this year. This is Dallas County in 2023. We had 410,000 address points for that. And then in 2024, we essentially doubled that and have just under 1 million data points or address points for that. So that was a big plus for this year's data set. And then pivoting a little bit, we have a new data set on the Data Hub. At least it's new to TextGIO. TxDOT used to manage the legislative boundaries, but we've met with them and discussed handing off this data set for us to manage. So that was recently published to our Data Hub. We have a collection card for the Texas Legislative Council who manages those boundaries. So you can find it under their collection card if you're interested in downloading that data. And I think that is all for me. So happy to answer any questions anybody has.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you. I'm with the Rio Grande Council of Governments. I'm the 911 GIS coordinator. All the addressing in the Big Bend region, the only way I'm able to accomplish it is with, number one, the aerial imagery, but also the StratMap. It's the only way I'm able to do my job. So if anybody else has problems with locating, different parcels, locations in general, I highly recommend getting in with you guys. So
Awesome.
Just want to say thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for contributing your data. I really appreciate that.
Casey Muratori with the Rio Grande Council of Governments.
Oh, sorry.
Do you know, I guess, have you already taken over the legislative boundaries from TxDOT, or is that coming?
We already have.
Okay.
So those are already published on our Data Hub currently.
Oh, okay. Reference their old stuff.
Do the land parcel data, does it have names, like park names and schools and things like that, or is it just privately owned land?
No, they're all, for the most part, all parcels for a county.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
There's one back here. Yeah. Hi.
I'm also from a Council of Governments, Architects Council of Governments, and when you're talking about collecting the address point data, I think maybe one of your first places to go to would be the local 911 authority, whether it be a Council of Governments or a district. Most of them, if not all, are using the NENA's 911 data schema. So all of the schema will be similar in nature.
Yeah, so those are my main points of contacts, are all of the primary emergency communication districts, the 911 districts. So yeah, that's what I'm currently using to track down all those address points. So yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. Can y'all pass this down?
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. So my question was on the future of this program and where it leads in terms of like what kind of products can be built on top of it. For instance, a lot of projects that do get pushed on a state level, they then get categorized and sent out to cities and then smaller districts and stuff. But I think there is a lot of like money that goes into a large projects that are statewide, which can be saved if this data set can be like utilized on statewide initiatives. For instance, I just want to talk about one where TCEQ does the lead and copper monitoring, and it's essentially all the address data sets that have to be provided more data on whether material of their inventory, what it is. And it wasn't like super successful, the entire initiative, but I feel like if it was done through GIO or done through like central, I think it would have been faster, cheaper. I want to like know if the state strategy, like in general, is there any like element to this where this can be put into a state strategy building and everything?
Yeah, so I think we're always going to continue to try to, like I mentioned, update this annually. We're like working on processes to streamline this a little bit, and then we always want to continue to grow our data sets. But I think in terms of this, we're always just going to continue to produce it annually, try to increase coverage, try to increase attribution for those data, and then just continue to build relationships with all of the local governments that continue to contribute data, and just try to continue improving it, I guess, is the
So
goal.
I think Richard talked to me, I think the question was maybe about strategic planning. And so since Richard is fresh off of doing a strategic plan with NSGIC, he told me that we're going to do one now for us. So
Yeah.
I'll let him comment.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And TextGeo is now going to develop a strategic plan for these data sets as well. And so to your question, these data sets are critical. They're not anything it's something we want to do minimum annually. And if there's ever possibilities we can do them more, we'll do them more. But they always come from the local source. All we're doing is aggregating. We're not necessarily making changes or adjusting them for a statewide data set, because that does nothing. That would actually harm the data. So we're taking it as is, provided from the locals, aggregating it in a way that the data are not changed, but maybe the schema is standardized across the board, those kinds of things. But we're not moving points, we're not moving lines, we're not doing anything, we're not joining. We're not even necessarily fixing errors, but we are notifying them if we notice any errors so that they can fix them, and then we can get updates. So, but at the end goal is a statewide data set for parcels, and we'll go into political boundaries at some point. We'll work through that, address points and so forth. And as they get better, so will our data. And then we're going to be contributing that up to the national level when the time comes and we have that ability. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but
I got a question about that. You said you're doing a strategic plan for the state of Texas? Yeah, it's me. So you're going to do counties too?
Yes.
It'll be mentioned in the strategic plan.
I'll tell you, we'll finish up this question here, because I think we may not be answering your question.
So yeah, in regards to what data sets we're working on, so it's it's not our goal to do GIS for other state agencies. They have their own resources and their own GIS departments, and we certainly don't want to take over that work for them, especially because we don't have the capacity to do such work. We are 20 people, and we can't create statewide data sets for other agencies that they use for their own regulation and other purposes. So We're happy to support other agencies with the data that we are acquiring. As I said, the StratMap focuses on those kind of core data sets for the state of Texas. But that's kind of the extent of the data sets that we're creating. We don't make it a habit to create data sets for other state agencies so that they can do their work other than those core data sets that we produce for the state.
What the GIO has to do. But where I was getting into was, if you can build an applications programming layer on top of the current address data set, so that other agencies, instead of like having to download it every single time, they can like build on top of it. I think that will be really helpful, because if we do like a citywide project also, I think we have to download the data set for the entire city, and then it's hundreds of thousands of points which take minutes to load and refresh on the screen. So I'm wishing that instead of having to download it every time, if other agencies could also like just utilize it and then just build on top of it, if that was going to be a plan.
There is a web map service link on the collection card that you can plug straight into your GIS to.
I had one.
To stream the data. You don't have to download it if you don't want to download the data. Yes.
Hey Clayton, I had one question. I was wondering, so I know yesterday CoreLogic gave a presentation about parcels and kind of wrangling those across multiple states. How often do you find that the contacts at county appraisal districts are kind of inundated with requests for parcel data, from either other partners, maybe Regrid or CoreLogic, and you folks as well? Like how often do you find that the contact, such as at Howard County, is just, maybe they're just being inundated with these requests, and so they don't have the time, to get back to you guys, or some of maybe they already have like an existing relationship with BIS, and they're just like, look, this is our county, or this is our contact, kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know exactly how inundated they're being with requests. We have built relationships with the county, so our request is as simple as just emailing the contact that we have and hoping that they just send us the data. But I know when we worked with BIS, they already manage over like 160 county land parcel data. So that's over half the counties they already have in-house. And then they are submitting formal information requests. And I do know, just going back and forth with them, they do get, they have a lot of issues just trying to get the data. Like it does take a lot of time, but in terms of the resources for those CADs, I'm not sure how. I'm sure they're getting a lot of requests, but I can't speak too much to all that. Yeah.
Have you all thought about hosting census geographies up there?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Have you thought about hosting census geographies up there for the state of Texas? So block group census tracts.
No, we haven't currently talked about doing that.
You should do that.
But
I think because
we're always
those are
looking
managed by the Census Bureau, so we don't want to duplicate anything that they are providing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, if the data if the data do exist in other locations, we don't necessarily want to grab it and host it, but we could link to it from our website, so that you could query it there. The card shows up with the link of where to go to get that information. I think that's definitely something we're more likely to do than host the physical data itself. But
I think that is a fantastic idea, because many of us have worked at the census trying to find information. I want to find this or that, and it's not it's not as easy. Well, I'm biased, right? But it's not as easy as the Texas Geographic Information Office hub. So I think if you can post a card or a link to where to go in the census if you want a shapefile of counties or census tracts or block groups, That would be fantastic.
Yeah, we can definitely look into doing something like that
And
to make
that's-
that. Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about, do we go to their, just like their base page, or do we actually go to the data set? Okay, okay. So Miguel, are you referring to maybe tightening down even more to not just go to a base page, but go to the data link itself? Okay, okay. Well, it sounds like we got both. Okay.
And that's
But it
similar.
sounds like we have that, though.
That's really great feedback. I think just whatever we can do to make it easier for y'all to
Yeah.
find your information. Yeah, we want to hear that. There's a question back here. Clayton, you're not going to get down.
Kind of similar to what they were saying over there about the like statewide data for the parcels. The web map service, I don't know, it's just kind of a comment, honestly, like in the web map service, trying to like click the individual parcels doesn't like really work. It's hard to interact with, and as like a statewide agency, it would be a huge pain to have to download 252 different shape files. So I guess that's just a comment or suggestion, maybe to have the web map service be easier to select features and interact with.
Yes, I agree. I actually just recently noticed that too, that I think they're being stored as lines rather than the polygons. So you have to click on the line and then you always end up selecting both adjacent parcels. So I agree with that, and that's definitely something we can look into trying to fix.
And then just a slight question about the legislative boundaries. So are you going to be updating the representative names every election cycle then?
Yeah, so that
Okay, cool.
was, I was going to mention this on the last question with the census, like pointing people to the census data and whatnot. So that's sort of what we've done with the legislative boundaries. We have links directly to the shape files for those district boundaries because they are buried on their website and they're really tough to find. And then we've created a derivative data set that links representative names to those district boundaries. And I'm like working on a process to update that automatically every time that there is an election cycle. So yeah, that's something we'll continue to maintain.
Really great.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Clayton.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone, for your comments and suggestions.
Thank you, Clayton. All right, we've got some updates from the archive. So two of the things we've been working on this past year in the archive, one is our big georeferencing project that we have partnered with Surdex on. And so as of this point, we've collected about 12,000, or we've accepted about 12,000 georeference frames. We're in the process of QCing another couple of 10,000. But that project is moving along really well. We're getting some great georeferenced historical data sets that are predominantly the TxDOT collections that range from the 70s to the late 80s and early 90s. And then the next phase on that, after we get all those in-house, we'll be creating mosaics of those collections and then publishing them out on the Data Hub. So keep an eye out for those in the near future. And of course, all of our historical imagery that is scanned and the georeference collections are available for free download through our data warehouse that you can access through our Data Hub. Any of our historical collections that show up on the Data Hub, you can scroll down on the metadata tab and find a link to where you can download them from the data warehouse. We also include indexes for those if they exist. There are some collections that don't have indexes though. Another project we've been working on is integrating U.S. Army Corps of Engineer imagery that we got a couple years back. It was delivered to us not organized by collection, but by box. The folders were labeled box 1, and then so we've been trying to go through and organize those a little better and create collections out of those data sets. Unfortunately, there are about 70 boxes, so it's been taking a while, but we've been able to add about 22 new collections to our data warehouse for the historical collections, and those are, as you can see here, really great, unique collections. There's a lot of coastal stuff. So as you can see there's a very low altitude flight of, I believe that's part of Galveston Island from the 1962. And so you can, we have the frame in front of you, you can actually see like people on the beach with their umbrellas and stuff. So it's a pretty interesting collection. And so those are the two things we're currently working on there, so keep an eye out for those in the future. Are there any questions about our historical archive or any of our historic imagery? Yeah.
Has there been, talks with the GLO historic imagery program as well to kind of collaborate in the future? I know they have really old imagery too.
Yeah, so we have been talking to the GLO kind of recently. We've been looking at what collections we have in ours that are scanned and on the data warehouse, and then what collections they have, and we're trying to get some details about those collections, and then if any of the collections that we don't have overlap on, we would be ingesting into the data warehouse and creating data hub cards for and making those available so that people can come to one place to get them. Any other questions? All right. I think with that, I will be handing it to, here's the contacts. So, of course, if you want anything StratMap related, please let me know. I'm happy to help with anything from the DIR contracts to the Historic Archive. Lauren Kirk is our imagery specialist. Ellen St. Romain is our elevation specialist. Clayton is currently focusing on parcel and address points, and then Aaron and Maria are our archive and research and development specialist. So, and of course you can reach us through the general contact form on our website, or if you have any questions about any of the data sets that the StratMap team manages, you can fill out a inquiry through the data hub as well. And we're always happy to help and lend a hand where we can. So please reach out if you need any help or you're interested in any data acquisition or collaboration. All right, with that, I'll hand it off to Joe, or Chris, there we go.
Thank you, Joey. I'm Chris Repka. I'm with the application development team at TextGeo. We've been hearing a lot about the data hub, so I will go ahead and start off with a little demo of what that looks like. Any minute now. Okay, so this is the TextGeo Data Hub. It's, let me shrink it down here. There we go. Okay, so when you start off, you've got this catalog view. So you've got collection cards over here, and then on the right, you can kind of see the footprint of each collection as you hover over an individual collection. If you want to find a specific collection, though, there's multiple ways to search. So let's say we want to find data pertaining to lakes. We can search lakes, lake. And then let's say we only want LiDAR and Bathy. We can go into the filters and select those categories. And then let's say we want to narrow it further and we only want collections that intersect geographically with these lakes. So then we can narrow it down to one collection. So let's check this data set out. On the left here, you'll see the metadata loads up first. So That's the default tab, and you can read the description of this data set, see the source website, who it's coming from, source contact, spatial reference system, resolution, so on and so forth. And then on the right, you have these geographic regions that it's chunked into. And then you can also, for the LiDAR data sets in particular, you'll have this footprint boundary, so you know that this quad only includes data within this purple line here. So we came here to download data. Let's say we want this chunk right here. Sure.
Can you scroll down to the bottom of that other page you were just
Oh,
on?
and metadata? Yeah, sure.
All the way to the bottom. I love this collection citation. This is awesome.
Oh, good.
It's really important for purposes of when you're publishing papers or other scientific thing to be able to call back to where you're getting the data from. So, good job.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I know we were kind of missing it for a while, and we recently added it back. So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. So when you select your different geographic regions for this collection, you'll notice these cards pop up here on the left, and there is data linked for download for each region. And so, I'm not going to download this 1,200 megabyte file, but you just click the link and you've got it. You can also select over here from a drop-down if you know the name of your quad, or quarter quad in this case, then you can select that way, and also deselect. So that's just another way to do the same thing, basically. Let's see. You can also do custom orders. So if there's some reason you want us to pre-process some data for you, you can reach out via this form and request that. Yeah. That does come with a cost, by the way. The custom orders just basically cost of labor and supplies, so just for your awareness. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If we have any questions later on the use of the Data Hub, just let me know. But I'm going to go back to these slides for now. Oops, that is not it. All right. So another project we've been working on recently, Rob Dennett specifically developed this one, is an analytics dashboard. And so this is just kind of an internal tool for us, but it gives us a good overview of what data sets are being downloaded, what different file types are being downloaded most frequently, and we can kind of make decisions around, what are some of our higher value data sets to our users and proceed from there. It also gives this really generous estimate of our cost savings based on, comparing it to the labor hours and whatnot that it would take if we were supplying this data manually, basically on a request-based basis. This next year, we're also going to be beginning a redesign of our flagship website, geographic.texas.gov. So be keeping an eye out for that. Our design, innovation, and marketing team is going to be working on the UX research for that, and then we will be kind of given a handoff deliverable. Okay, so last year I presented an app dev roadmap, so I just kind of wanted to go over some of the things that I had mentioned last year. We had been hiring, our team grew from, within the past 3 or so years, from 1 to 5, or actually 6, counting myself. And so we were focusing on basically onboarding new employees and focusing on solution sustainability moving forward, just making more maintainable apps, kind of cutting down on unnecessary cruft, and refactoring our existing solutions to be more maintainable. And And so a lot of our initial investment as a team was going into existing apps and infrastructure and kind of cleanup. But looking forward, we are currently in the process of developing the Texas Water Data Hub. So that's a beta deployment right now. And then kind of a new project we're looking into is applying for the AWS Open Data Sponsorship. And so the great thing about this sponsorship is that we apply and basically AWS pays for the static storage of all our data in S3. So hoping to get that done by 2026 and migrate those files over. Let's see. We're also exploring a move to cloud-native geospatial file formats, so COPC, GeoParquet, and cloud-optimized GeoTIFFs, so that data can basically be streamed directly from our S3 bucket, and in some cases actually queried directly from the S3 bucket. So that is an interesting project we're looking into and kind of analyzing the feasibility of. And then kind of with that exploration, we're looking into new ways we can deliver our data. So instead of pre-chunking our data into these quarter quads, basically allowing an end user to draw a bounding box in a given collection and get the pertinent data directly back. Yeah. So, yeah, we want to hear from you. Any enhancements that you'd like to see in the hub, any project solutions or needs you have questions about. And then additionally, I'd like to ask y'all if you have any experience using the AWS Open Data Sponsorship, Open Data Registry, and if anybody has experience using cloud-native geospatial formats, what your experience was like doing that. So that's it for me. Yeah, thank you. Joe? I think I'm going to be handing off to Joe if nobody has any further questions.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Sepulveda with the Texas Water Development Board. Thank you for making it to day 3. There's some tired faces out there, so we appreciate it. Oh, day 5, yeah, the workshop's a good call. No, I just wanted to review very quickly the statewide Geocoder effort that TextGIO has been undertaking the past year. At last year's forum, we had discussed embarking on a proof of value, really creating a proof of value statewide geocoder that could be shared with the community and provide feedback. So we partnered with Sanborn to develop that proof of value, and that is complete. So for those of you who participate in the Texas GIS Solutions Group through DIR, we did do a demo at our quarter 4 3, 2,
They're not really
the last solutions group meeting. Yeah, to get feedback. And so we are continuing to solicit feedback throughout the end of the calendar year. The URL is up there as well with the QR code. And that statewide geocoder will support, or the proof of value does support, single geocoding, batch geocoding through a CSV or Excel file, as well as an API. So the statewide address data that Clayton mentioned previously is a data input to this, as well as some open source address data as well. So this is, again, a proof of value, not necessarily an unpolished version, but we're trying to assess and determine if this is something TextGIO should move forward with. So once you get to that site, there'll be a long list of instructions and a contact form that'll link to myself, but feel free to reach out. To use the API portion of the geocoder, you will need an API key, which we'll certainly provide you to gain that feedback. So definitely more information to come as we continue to close out that needs assessment. And quickly, I just wanted to recognize the team. Some of us are not to scale here, just FYI. But really, this is the Geographic Infrastructure and Technology team. And then they are very much sort of behind the scenes. So all of the great data acquisition work that StratMap is taking, this team is largely responsible for the accessibility portion of that effort. So really quick, our application development team led by Chris Repka, with developers Ben Bright, Levi Harmon, Rob Dennett, Azio O'Brien is our web administrator, as well as Deepak Shetty. System admin is ran by Ryan Mitchell, Chelsea Sidenblad, and Joseph Racone, and then our very key project manager, Vanessa Escobar. So I just wanted to shed some light on this team since they often live in the shadows, but they're certainly essential to what TextGIO does. So thank you so much. You want me to remove it?
Does anyone have any questions or comments while they're transitioning from Chris or Joe's content? Okay. Laura Sepulveda is up next.
Making a slight adjustment to my slides live on stage. Thank you for bearing with me. How do I turn it back on? Thank you. All right, thanks. Oh, it was.
Oh, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Richard. So I have just a brief update. I want to thank everybody who came to the forum this year. It was a huge success. We had about 400 people here on site over the course of the week, and so we really appreciate you showing up. In addition to the forum, though, we do hold quarterly community meetings to get the community together just like this. This is the fourth quarter meeting of 2024. But we had 3 others this year, and across those 3, we had over 400 people attend those as well. And so thank you to our community for getting together and sharing with us and letting us share with you. It really makes a difference, I think, in our state and in our industry. So with that, I will move forward. This is a picture from the keynote yesterday also, or on Wednesday, by the way. Speaking of community meetings, I'm really excited to announce the dates for next year. Sometimes we don't do this, but this year we are happy to give you the dates well in advance. So we will be meeting in January. Normally we meet the 3rd Wednesday of, January, April, July, and then, this one is special because it's part of the forum in October. But a few of these are not on the 3rd Wednesday, and that is because we are aware of other events in our community that we don't want to crowd or overlap with. One of them being in July. We have moved that date to accommodate the UC in California, as well as in January, giving us a little bit more time to recover from holiday breaks. So take a screenshot. We'll make these available on our website. We will share them on our Twitter feed as well. So if you don't, make note of them now, you will find out about them later on, hopefully as well. We are targeting to have the forum again next year in a similar week. We just don't have those exact dates reserved yet. So pencil that in for, late October next year as well. And if you want to follow us on X or YouTube, our username is Geographic Texas. This meeting is being recorded. We record every community meeting. We have it transcribed, and then we put it on our YouTube channel. So if you ever miss one and want to catch up and see what happened or who spoke and what they said, you can see them all there. A really neat tip is to expand the description. We put bookmarks, so if you want to zoom to a specific time in the meeting or part of the agenda, you can do that. You don't have to watch the whole 2-hour meeting if you don't want to. We do have a mailing list as well. You can scan this QR code to sign up for it if you're not already. You can also put your name on the list outside when you checked in and check, and we'll add you to the mailing list if you're interested, or you can go to our website and sign up there. The main purpose for the mailing list currently is that we send you invites to events like this and let you know when they're going to happen. We also, if we have a major data update, we will send an email out to our community letting you know about that as well. And then lastly, I have my email address down at the bottom as well as Gwen's. And so if you have any feedback from the forum this year, we would love to hear it. I think in your inboxes right now, you have a survey asking you for feedback as well. So those are just 2 methods. You can fill out the survey. We're also happy to accept direct feedback if you want to send us an email with ideas, suggestions, keynote speakers you want to hear from next year that we can try to get here. We really appreciate all of the feedback that we get from y'all. And next up is going to be open discussion. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have right now. Yep.
Yeah, so that's something we've considered. Just a little background on GeoRodeo. If you don't know what it is, GeoRodeo is more of the technology arm of the of this conference. We used to have where we would have maybe a technology side of this conference, and we would have people talking about their coding work and how they've accomplished certain parts. But because that was becoming so big, we thought we would break it up into 2 different forums and have a separate technology forum. We called it the GeoRodeo. So the GeoRodeo, there's 2 things to consider here. GeoRodeo was free to everybody because of the donations to the community from people coming to this event. If this event made us money, what we did was we took that and used the proceeds that we had to create the GeoRodeo. There at the last, right before COVID. We started having run-ins with other, let's just say, other coding organizations that were kind of doing similar things than we were doing. And so we started kind of getting this thing, well, we're doing that, but y'all are doing that, and you're taking people away from us, and vice versa sort of thing. And so what we started doing is, well, maybe we won't do that then. If that coding community is worried that we're doing that, maybe what we'll do is we'll sponsor one of theirs and make it theirs. And we can do other, we can maybe do other things. So the short answer to your question is we are looking back into that, because now all of a sudden I don't necessarily see those coding communities putting these things on as much as they did prior to COVID. This body, the forum, is getting healthier. We're not quite there yet, but we are getting healthier, and if we can then get, I would say, enough funds that we feel like we could put on the GeoRodeo, I think that's something we would like to consider. So let me just ask the folks here, was a GeoRodeo something you guys kind of want to see? Did that solve a niche that you're not getting maybe elsewhere, and is that something y'all would like to see? Comments? Got a thumbs up? I got some thumbs up, okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, the GeoRodeo is the technology side of this forum. So it's more code, stuff. It's a little bit more rich into how things get done on the back end and that kind of thing. Technology side, I would say. Yeah.
I do have a thought. I'm not that technical. But I think like a hackathon part of that could be really.
And hackathon's been brought up. Chris Repka has brought up the hackathon part, and I think that's something that we would like to, think about and consider. So the answer to the question is, I think we are talking more about doing something like that, or maybe a variant of. Maybe it doesn't have to be every year. If we could, that'd be great. But if it's like something maybe we do every other year, we could think about that. So, would like to know more what y'all think we could do. Brent?
Maybe what we could do is also run it during the first 2 days when you do pre-conference workshops. Or do a hackathon those first 2 days, then we could show it during the actual GIS conference.
Those are a good comment.
So that's another way to do it too, where you're not in then taking space for another time period, but you're just continuing to use the.
Right. Any thoughts to that?
And people would only have to travel one time.
Yeah, true. Good point.
I mean, I think given the number of new people here, myself included, like I'd have never seen the rodeo, but I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. I want in. Like just for once or twice, just to see it for funsies.
To wear a hat.
Yeah,
to wear a cowboy hat or cowgirl hat.
The Geo Rodeo to me was fascinating too, because this is where we would have like hardcore AI demonstrations of Geo AI or something, and then how people how do you format and structure your data to be so that Geo AI can use it appropriately, so some of those kinds of things, and then to watch that technology kind of in front of you happening to that level. Does kind of blow your mind a little bit. You don't necessarily have to understand the coding, but when you start to look at what can be done with it, it kind of makes you start thinking about maybe ways you can use what you just learned in your own environment to help you there. So yeah, I think it's fascinating actually. Another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about what Jackie said about hackathons. I don't know if people have heard about Code for America. So Code for America has different subsets. Like for example, in this region area, there's Open Austin. And so what they are, they're a local social civic group that provides a connection to coders. And there's some GIS projects that is, since we're a GIS group, where they foster relationships with government and nonprofits to build whatever they want to build and connect, tech people to kind of get these projects off the ground. So if you want to, that's another partnership.
Yeah.
If you want to do that.
I definitely think it'd be something we would want to go back to the coding community and see maybe how we can get their thoughts to creating something maybe jointly that could maybe expand it, maybe make it a little bit bigger. Before we continue, I just, did anybody have any other questions for Laura?
I think Gwen.
Oh.
Hey y'all, I'm Gwen. That's my contact up there on the screen. I did want to say at our community meetings, we do have featured speakers that come in. So if there's someone you want to see or a project you're working on, reach out to us. We'd love to get some feedback from you all about who you want to hear from. So thanks.
Or if you want to be one.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, well, we're right on time. We're right on time.
You ready?
Yes.
I think Claire is ready for. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Let's go with Claire real quick.
Okay, Claire's ready for acceptance speech.
So I pulled myself together finally. I did have some words prepared, but I was not expecting to be overcome with emotion at the time. So thank you, Richard, for those kind words earlier. It's been a pleasure to work with everybody here and your predecessors, over the past 21 years since I moved to Texas. Improving geospatial data for the state. So, USGS partnerships with the Texas Water Development Board began, I believe, in the 1950s with cooperative topographic mapping. So, I was honored to continue that tradition by coordinating closely with what's now TexGIO. Is that how you're pronouncing it? Texas GIO. So thank you, Richard and Gayla, Joey, Lauren, Miguel, Ryan, Ellen, and many others through the years. Of course, Felicia too. And then there have been hold it together. Hold it together. Many other folks across the state were great to work with through the years, helping us complete those. Oh my gosh, those surveys. To support, the development of 3DEP and 3DHP. So thanks everybody whoever completed one of those questionnaires. I know those were excruciating at times. Folks at the GLO, Scott and Daniel, it's great to work with you all. Parks and Wildlife, I worked closely with Kim Ludicky through the years. He was great. Folks at TxDOT, too numerous to mention. UT Center for Space Research, Gordon Wells and Teresa Howard, Brent Porter, Greg Smithart, and some others, and folks at TCEQ, of course. And also, for a number of years, USGS coordinated closely with mainly councils of government across the state when we partnered for aerial imagery, and then also LIDAR more recently. And the Houston Galveston Area Council, Jochen here is representing HGAC today. I would say HGAC was a model for coordination through the years. We had multiple partnerships with you all for aerial imagery. So if you ever want to learn how to pull people together to develop partnerships, HGAC was a model for that and still is. And then, of course, there have been countless individuals in cities and counties across the state that I've worked with. So thank you, everybody. And so thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.
And our new Texas liaison from USGS is here, Michelle Fisher. So hopefully you've gotten to know her. Do you want to say anything?
I'm just happy to be part of your team, and I'm here to help, so reach out if you ever need anything.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Claire.
Okay, so we are going into our open discussion phase, and I talked to Jesse earlier, and he's going to kick us off. So I'm going to need I'll need two mics if I could.